316 has words with it. Did Austin 316 have words with it?
It was a parody of that.
It was a parody of that?
Yeah.
Oof, boy, I feel like you're...
Well, that was wrestling in the 90s, pushing the envelope.
Tiptoeing into some sacrilege right there, aren't you? If you're going to change, do you remember the words to it?
That's the bottom line or something?
Well, I mean, all right, so John 3:16 is for God so loved the world, he gave his only son.
Right.
Yeah, whoever believes in him is free. Excellent.
You're not going to like you want me to say what it is?
I mean, if you're comfortable, I've never heard it. I didn't know that.
I mean, they say it on Netflix. You can say it on our
Austin
format.
3:16 says, I just whooped your ass.
Was that it?
That was the popular line.
Well, that's not a parody at all. Yeah, that's.
I mean, but he did a whole monologue. It was a King of the Ring, and it was a big deal. And
but I mean, he was edgy, but he was viewed as a good guy, right?
He was an anti-hero, sort of like.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the bad guy, but he got a lot of babyface love. So,
but he was pushing God's word to the real hills of the WWE, right?
It was the Bret Hart Austin match that really sort of pushed him into, like, he was supposed to be the bad guy going in, but he walked out the good guy because he didn't tap out in a submission match. So
that's really important.
Well. Yeah. That is important, by the way.
You're our Jeeves of wrestling, right?
That's right. We got two guys back there, Melton and not that Scott doesn't have a lot of knowledge, he does, but Melton and Tyler will surprise you with their knowledge sometimes. Tyler comes with stuff like yesterday. Tyler said he could tutor me in Spanish to help get my degree, and I asked Tyler, do you speak Spanish? And Tyler, you said,
I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and then I took a little bit of Spanish 3 and ended up switching to broadcast actually. And then in college, I took another 2 semesters of Spanish.
Wow.
So I could get you a Spanish 1 certification.
I need Spanish 2. Spanish 2.
Spanish 2. I can get you there.
Okay.
If we're in Chihuahua, would you be able to translate directions?
Yeah, I could get us where we need to go.
Back to the wrestling.
Is there real quick? Is there anything you could speak fluently just off on command right here?
I'm not fluent.
Oh, okay.
No, ask us to go to the movies today and that you're really excited about the popcorn.
What's that?
Ask us to go to the movies today and you're really excited about the popcorn. Okay.
Yeah.
It didn't work.
I got to think about it.
I hope that doesn't come up in Tijuana.
So Melton, though, if we ask you on the fly about any of these wrestling things, you know pretty much.
I mean, yeah.
So when I sat down with Mick Foley, I don't know if you got to hear the interview last year.
It was very good.
Okay, so my Hell in the Cell questions, things like that, were somewhat accurate enough that
absolutely
it seemed like I knew what I was talking about?
Oh, 100% you had done your homework.
Okay, good.
One of the most iconic matches, if not the most iconic match in the history of wrestling, was Undertaker and Mick Foley Hell in the Cell.
Wow.
Yeah, they just did a documentary of it on Vice that's really good, and it's available for free on YouTube as well. But don't watch them, watch us. There you go, bro.
There you go. Thank you very much. Anyway, Notre Dame USC has one more this year.
There we go.
That's where we started this. Notre Dame USC has this year remaining.
It will get renewed.
And
so what is Pat?
Welcome, Braves country, to the Pennant Grace, and look who's sitting in the big chair. Cup of coffee in the big time for me as I sit here in the big chair because my broadcast partner, Emily Grace McWhorter, is at Old Overton for the Knicks Kids Golf Fundraiser. EG, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you loud and clear, sweetheart. So there is something about EG on a golf course that just like you are never more in your element. Maybe if you're at a wedding.
Okay, Coach Saban is about to drive behind us, so I'm just going to go like this. Y'all will see him behind me.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so about to have, yep, is that him? Ladies and gentlemen, Nick Saban's first appearance on the Pennant Grace just now. Braves coming off an off day with the big news, of course, being the long-anticipated return of Spencer Strider tonight in our nation's capital. Finds the Braves, EG, at 24-23, a game above 500. 6-4 out of their last 10 and 5 games back in the NL East. But before we get into all that, today's show, as always, is brought to you by Roback. EG and I were at the Regions Tradition last week. We saw plenty of Roback. So when you go to Roback, roback.com, and complete your order, enter code PG20 at checkout and save 20%. Shake that caboose into big, big savings with Rhoback.com, code PG20. Emily Grace McWhorter,
Yeah.
how are we feeling about our Atlanta Braves right now?
Well, I feel pretty good. The Braves do have a winning record. I'm sorry for my golf voice.
No, that's
Tims.
okay.
I do not want to get yelled at by Coach Saban for being loud on hole 17 where he's camped out.
I don't
But no,
want
the
you to get
Braves-
yelled at. No, yeah.
No, it might make for good TV, but that's not what we're attempting to do here. But anyways, no, I feel good about the Braves right now. I think that you hit the nail on the head a couple weeks ago when you said that I would envision that Strider would be returning to this series in the nation's capital. And there's a lot of momentum building. I'm also seeing some rumors, if you will, today on social media that Acuna could be back as early as, next week even. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see how that transpires.
EG, is next week still in the month of May?
Unfortunately, it is.
I'm pretty smart. Hey, Tim Melton behind the glass. Hey, Tim, I know things. I'm a pretty smart guy. I predicted a May return for Ronald
She's still
Acuna.
holding out for June. She's still hoping.
She's
for
holding
June.
out, but I know things. I'm pretty
The
smart.
competitor in me, guys, I want it to be June, but the Braves fan, it needs to be May.
They are
Come on.
they are at war
Come on.
within her. When we were with you last on Thursday, we were doing a watch along, which was a lot of fun. Got good feedback on that as well. Braves did go on to win that game, 5-2. AJ Smith-Shawver pitched well again, got another win, and then we headed to Boston. Want to recap that series. First off, incredible always when your team gets to play in Fenway. It's just such a cool venue, plays so well on TV. A little extra juice, even if the Red Sox aren't an elite team, it's always a special thing to be able to play in a place like Fenway Park.
Absolutely. And I think it was fun too, the broadcast. They had a lot of cool elements set up. And so I enjoyed watching those games. Wiley had some great hits talking about Brian Snicker's, favorite memories at Fenway. And one of them, which I'm curious if you saw this, was having Brian McCann score from second. Big guy, he wasn't the quickest.
Oh, yeah.
And so kind of seeing the production that the broadcast went into about some favorite memories, it was awesome. And obviously big confidence boost. But I really have this series circle with the Nationals because this is when I know I'm greedy, I know I'm selfish, but give me the sweep.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned greed and sweeping. I'm happy with taking 2 out of 3 in Boston. That's a good thing. We previewed May. I was hoping for that, and we got that. I am disappointed because the Braves should have gotten the sweep, and we'll get to Game 2 here in a second. But Game 1 was a 4-2 win. It was all about Chris Sale, his return to Boston, where he played the majority of his career. He went 7 innings again, so love to see that. You get your starter to go, so 7.0 innings pitched, gave up only 5 hits, only 1 earned run, and as typical for Chris Sale, had 8 strikeouts. He's now 2-3, and his ERA's down to 3.62. Chris Sale looking like Chris Sale right now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, no, and it took a second, and we talked about a lot on the show that we wanted to see him return to that form, and he has. And again, this is a great time to be doing so. We're getting into June, and as Osh says on the show, the season doesn't start until after Independence Day, so I'm happy that he's kind of getting in that consistency mode, and then, hopefully peaking July, August, September, October.
A pitcher's duel in Game 1 because Garrett Crochet was also outstanding. He also went 7 innings pitched, and only 7 hits and 2 earned runs from him. He had 8 strikeouts as well, so very evenly matched there. Matt Olson, who had one heck of a series, was 2 for 4 with a home run. That takes us to Game 2. It's a 6-7 loss. Matt Olson was great. Again, he was 3 for 5, had a home run, had 2 RBIs, scored a run, and then Marcell Ozuna. Seeing these guys go back-to-back is fun. He was 1 for 3, home run. He drew 2 walks and also scored 2 runs. But the bullpen and the management, particularly the management of the bullpen, was really the story of that game. So a 6-7 loss. Grant Holmes pitched well. And so this upset me because you saw Grant Holmes gave up only 2 runs over 6 innings pitched. You had home runs from Olson, Ozuna. You had a 2-run lead going into the 8th. And then EG's favorite player, who the heck is Rafael Montero, gets put in this, tight spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was a bad night for the bullpen, for Bummer, Eniel De Los Santos. These guys were giving up. Brian Snicker said that Raciel Iglesias, Daysbel Hernandez, and Dylan Lee were unavailable. I got it on Daysbel and Iglesias. I did not understand about Dylan Lee being unavailable based on how much he had pitched leading up to it. But I saw a lot of criticism online for the skipper on this one. Big Brian Snicker guy. You might even say I'm a Brian Snicker apologist. But there was no defending him on this one. I feel like he mismanaged that, and that wasn't the right spot to go with Montero.
Yeah, and I think, I think the criticism is rightfully so. I don't think that is out of the realm of, possibilities for Braves country to be a little frustrated at that, because it just seemed so blatantly obvious this was not the move that you should have made in that situation. And there's no shredding this criticism he's faced, especially with the bullpen, but it's also extended to the lineup as well. So, it's frustrating because I agree with you. That should have been a game that the Braves should have been able to take. And it's almost, inexcusable at this point. There's so much momentum that the Braves are receiving. I would say just national attention right now for how they've been able to turn things around.
Yeah.
Starting off the season how they did. And so, now is the time that you have to capitalize on that. And that was one of those things that just felt like it set, kind of things to a screeching halt.
And knowing what we know now, the offensive outburst that would await Atlanta on Sunday, to see that one slip through, the opportunity for the sweep was disappointing. But as I said, Braves bounced back very strong. 10-4 win in Game 3. Again, these names that I can continue to mention in this series. Marcell Ozuna, 2 for 4, home run, walk, 3 RBIs, scores 2 runs. Matt Olson, 2 doubles, a walk, an RBI, and a run. The Braves tally 16 hits. Spencer Schwellenbach, he gave up a grand slam in the 3rd, but the rest of the 7 innings that he pitched, other than that 3rd inning, scoreless. So another good quality start from Spencer Schwellenbach there. And then Drake Baldwin had a couple of key hits in that as well. Drake Baldwin. Let's talk about Drake Baldwin for a second.
Let's do it.
In the month of May, here's what Drake Baldwin is producing. This is your rookie backup catcher. He's hitting .531 in the month of May. It's May 20th right now. .531 with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, and a 1.406 OPS. That brings his season average up to a 357 batting average and a 983 OPS. Drake Baldwin was a high draft pick, but he is exceeding all expectations.
Yes, and you cannot ask for more from him. And I think it draws, the conversation that the Braves, again, AA received some criticism too this offseason about what moves are you going to make, what production are you going to have. You have guys like Drake Baldwin that is exceeding expectations and doing it consistently, and we're only in May. That is what you want to be seeing, and I think it's guys like him, Nick Allen, Eli White, that are contributing to this turnaround that, national news is picking up on when it comes to the Braves.
To me, he's been the best player on the team so far in 2025. If you wonder how the Braves are doing at the catcher position by and large, only teams with a higher OPS in Major League Baseball at the catcher position than Atlanta are the Cubs and the Mariners. So the Braves with the 3rd best OPS in all of baseball at that position. Going into whatever happens this year and next year, if you're looking at a future without Marcell Ozuna, you're going to have a lot of strength with those two as far as one of those two, trading off at-bats in the DH position. Very, very good to see. Braves are an NL best, by the way, 19-10 since April 18th. So since April 18th, best record in baseball is the Atlanta Braves. But who they're chasing now is different. As of last night, something that will make Pennant Grace Phillies correspondent Travis Millsaps very happy, the Phillies are in first place. Stronghold by the Mets on that top spot for a while, and now the Phillies have regained the top spot. Mets are behind them, and then the Braves still in third position.
Well, I think, from our perspective, we have been keeping up with this trend since April 18th. And remember, Ush, we were, starting that conversation, not starting that conversation, but contributing the conversation around Alex Verdugo and kind of that being kind of a launch point for this offense. And we talked a lot about it. And to see it, really transpiring, keeping up since then, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, for the Braves, too, chasing the Phillies, that's nothing new. And I think that that's going to be something that it seems like, the Phillies kind of had also a little bit of a slump here earlier on in the season. And now, arguably two of the best teams in baseball, and the Phillies and the Braves are both starting to heat up at the right moment.
They will be playing before the month is out as well. Here's the thing that concerns me the most as an Atlanta Braves fan. Now, I just said the Braves, since April 18th, have the best record. Well, that you hear that and you think, great, they're firmly in that, with a playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
Not so fast, my friend. What we are seeing, I mentioned the Mets and the Phillies, so you have those three teams with winning records in the East. But let's look at the Central, which we kind of take for granted as a one-bid division. The Cubs still lead the division at 28-20, but winning 8 and going 8-2 in their last 10, the red-hot St. Louis Cardinals are now at 27-21, and the team that the Braves just took a series from, Cincinnati, also now has a winning record. They're at 25-24. So you have those. And then you have what's been really all season the best division in Major League Baseball, the NL West. The Dodgers lead, as you would expect, but the Padres are only a half game back. The Giants are only 1 game back. And the Arizona Diamondbacks are only 3 games back. Now, there's another team in that division. It's Colorado. They're 20 games back. But you've got Colorado, who is horrible, and then you have 4 teams with winning records. That is a very, very tight division. And so what you have going on in your own division for Atlanta, and then you have, better teams now in the Central, and then the West going crazy. Now it's May 20th as we record this, but it is looking very crowded where we stand right now in that playoff picture.
No, it is. And what's also looking crowded behind me is the tee box. Ush, Coach Saban's about to tee off, so I'm going to have to cruise on out.
Okay.
But take us home. Thank you guys for being patient as we broadcast for the golf course. And I'll be back with you on Thursday at 12:15.
Okay, we'll see you Thursday, 12:15. Emily Grace McWhorter at the Knicks Kids event, covering that. We'll probably get a recap later on that outfit of the day. I hate it when your hair gets in your eyes. The wind blows your hair. Very, very distracting. If the Braves were to make the playoffs, as we stand, again, in May, May 20th, one of the reasons they would be the starting pitching, which has been outstanding. Now, we went through that Boston series and recapped all that. I told you how good that looked. How good is the Braves starting pitching? Spencer Strider, as we said, expected to make his return tonight as the starter for the Braves. They had to make room for him and to not diminish the bullpen, they had to send Bryce Elder, option him deck down to Gwinnett. He's got a 3.10 ERA. So that's a guy with just above a 3 ERA that you option. That's the strength and the depth of the Braves starting rotation. Absolutely outstanding. And so that, to me, although the offense is really coming on, we saw that in Fenway. Overall, and again, going to that game 2 and some of those struggles from the bullpen, we covered that in depth, by the way, last week. If you missed that, be sure to check out the archives and last week's shows where we really did a deep dive on the pitching staff in general and on the bullpen. But to me, the overall number one strength of the team has been their starting pitching. Chris Sale, we talked about him earlier. His last 5 starts, a 1.72 ERA. A.J. Smith-Shawver, how fantastic has he been? here's what his opponents are hitting against him now. 141. That is the batting average against A.J. Smith-Shawver right now. And then Spencer Schwellenbach, who got the win in Game 3 against Boston, only 6 earned runs over the past 3 starts. And we saw he had a grand slam. So you take that one away, that looks even better. What about the Braves offense? EG and I talked about Ronald Acuna Jr. Interested to know what you guys think about when he makes his return. So take a look at the schedule. So 3 games start this evening in D.C. And I say this evening, that Central Time start, first pitch, a very USH-friendly 5:45 first pitch. That fills me with such glee, I can hardly explain it. I'm so happy about that 5:45 first pitch. That's perfect. I may be in bed tonight, lights out by 8:15. It's possible. You could see an 8:15 fan on, CPAP on, lights out, 8:15.
Is that not just a normal Tuesday night for you?
It's not. Baseball season
Oh.
will keep me up a little later.
Oh.
And so stay tuned. I'll put that out on X and on the follow us, by the way, at the Pennant Grace, and see what time that if that doesn't bring in and ramp up the followers, Tim, I don't know what will. See what time I went to bed last night.
We should do a live stream of you with the CPAP on.
We could.
Yeah.
Anything for content. So 5:45 first pitch. So we got 3 in DC. Talking about Ronald Acuna Jr. 3 in DC starting tonight. And then we go back to Truist and have the Padres coming. We've seen them already. That started the Braves' disastrous beginning to the season. That 0-7 start that started in San Diego. Now we see the Padres again, this time at home, a very, very dangerous team. Then a day off. Then that huge series in Philadelphia against the Phillies. And then we face Boston again, this time at Truist for 3, and that takes us into June. So that's what the Braves have left. When will we see Ronald Acuna Jr.? Travis Millsaps, Phillies correspondent of the Pennant Grace, in the chat saying Friday, May 30th for Acuna. So that would be against Boston. That would also win the bet for me. So I like to see that. Nick in the chat, going to be in Virginia in July, maybe making the trek to D.C. to see the Nats and the Red Sox. 2 red, white, and blue teams, Nick. I don't know who I pull for there. I probably don't. I probably am. If I go to that game, my main focus is on the hot dogs and what I do there. So do you want to send – now, Strider's coming back on the road. I don't know how much that matters for Acuna or anyone else when you bring them back, but he's doing very well in Gwinnett, as we've seen. We know he's in the lineup for Gwinnett for this evening. When do you expect to see Ronald Acuna Jr.? I think you could see him I guess at the earliest, that Padres series. But I think Trav is right, more likely it is the end of the month, Boston, but if not that, then possibly in Philadelphia. So we'll see what he does. Anyway, getting him back, there's, obviously that's your best player. Offense starting to click. We're seeing that with Matt Olson, Marcelo Zuna coming out of his slump. So you're starting to see these bats are coming alongside what Drake Baldwin is doing. Talked about that catcher position. So a good spot for the Braves to be in. We'll be back Thursday at 12:15, and we're going to be able to take a look at what has happened in D.C., how Spencer Strider did in that first spot back, and what else is going on, and what else is on your guys' mind. So if you have something that you would like for us to cover, best way to do that is to reach us on X at the Pennant Grace, and we'll be sure to take a look at that and try to discuss the things that are on your mind about Atlanta. This is a very fun time of year as it's full swing. We're starting to, we've had a portion of the season pass. We've learned about our team. You've had highs and lows already, so it's, starting to get real for sure. Again, Roback.com for all those who crave activity. It's Roback.com. Use code PG20 at checkout. Save 20%. If you're like me, you got 5:45 penciled in your calendar for the Braves. You also have 2 o'clock penciled in on your calendar. That is when the Meltdown airs. Meltdown, Monday through Friday at 2 o'clock Central. Tim Melton behind the glass, by the way, co-host with Tyler Lionel Johns of the Meltdown. Tim, what do we got today for the show? I know that we're gonna talk a little Jason Voorhees.
That is correct. So they've put out a new Jason design that is supposed to go across all mediums. And as you know, Jason, big guy with the hockey mask, and this design not working for me. And we'll get into exactly why on the show today. But once you see it, Ush, I think you will also be a little offended.
If horror movie bad guys were on a baseball team, where do you have Jason Voorhees in the batting order? Where is he hitting?
Man, I'm putting Jason in the 4th spot. That's
batting cleanup.
That's what I'm doing, yeah. What you don't?
That's no higher praise. And this is a guy that knows his horror, ladies and gentlemen, Tim Melton.
Don't you think he's a power swinger there?
He is.
To be able to bring home some runs?
Yeah. Pretty big guy.
Yeah.
Pretty big guy, hockey mask is intimidating. I think that strikes fear into
Probably
the pitcher.
Got him on first base out there. Probably got him out on first base.
First base, big first baseman. That makes sense as well. You never know what will come up on the Meltdown. 2 o'clock today, and we'll be back Thursday at 12:15. We'll see you then. Until then, make sure you connect with us on X at the Pennant Grace, and we'll see you guys Thursday at 12:15.